I think the North Koreans are pushing this situation towards a crisis, and I think the Trump administration is ready to meet them head on.
The 8th Army in Korea has officially moved its headquarters to Pyeongtaek, a city some 65 kilometers south of Seoul. Advocates of the move from Seoul say it's a win-win for the South Korean capital's development as well as the military's defense readiness. For more on this multi-billion-dollar move,
the U.S. 8th Army's 64 years at the Yongsan base in Seoul is now part of history. On Tuesday, they began service at the newly built Camp Humphreys in Pyeongtaek.
So today's ceremony really marks 8th Army's execution of its move from Yongsan to Camp Humphreys, and it is the beginning of the rest of the moves of all of the rest of the 8th Army units. That would also include U.S. Forces Korea and elements of the Combined Forces Command. So over the next year, you will see a continuation of these movements.
The occasion is based on the agreement made in 2004 between U.S. Forces Korea and the South Korean government to make the new base an operational hub for some 28,000 U.S. forces stationed in Korea. The Pyeongtaek base is the largest overseas U.S. base in the world and will be home to over 43,000 people, including U.S. personnel and their families. The move comes at a cost of $10.7 billion, and it will unite 173 military camps across South Korea and many other bases near the inter-Korean border. The commander of the 8th Army, Thomas Vandal, said on Tuesday that the new base is more effective and efficient in countering North Korea's threats.
What has changed for us is we no longer have to defend potentially 173 camps and installations. We now have it consolidated, so it allows us to maximize our force protection. And as I described, with assets like Patriot batteries, you can now better protect from the ballistic missile threat from North Korea.
The Central Committee and the Central Military Commission of the Workers' Party of Korea arranged a grand banquet on the 10th in congratulation of the successful test firing of the intercontinental ballistic rocket. The respected Supreme Leader Kim Jong Un was present at the banquet. Invited to the banquet were officials, scientists, and technicians in the field of defense science who contributed to the successful test firing of the intercontinental ballistic rocket Hwasong-14.
존엄 높은 우리 공화국의 역사에 득기할 대경사, 전체 조선인민의 위대한 승리를 안아온 민족의 장한 영웅들을 태운 버스들이 통과하는 수도의 거리거리는 환영의 꽃물결로 세차게 파도쳤습니다.
The respected Supreme Leader Kim Jong Un made a strategic decision not to tolerate any longer the nuclear blackmail of the U.S. imperialists and all sorts of sanctions and pressure of the hostile forces that have threatened the Korean nation for more than 70 years, but to open a shortcut to the final victory by completing at any cost the intercontinental ballistic rocket aimed at the heart of the United States.
A Fox News alert: the U.S. flexing its defense muscles overnight, destroying an incoming test missile off the coast of Alaska. Lockheed Martin's Terminal High Altitude Area Defense System, or THAAD, successfully intercepted the target. The U.S. Army providing critical support to pull it off. Now, the test meant to send a strong message to North Korea that if the communist country fires a nuke, America can defend itself.
Now to some news just coming in. An estimated magnitude 5.8 earthquake has been detected off North Korea's eastern coast. That happened early this morning. The U.S. Geological Survey said the tremor occurred some 176 kilometers out into the East Sea at precisely 4:18 a.m. North Korea time. So that means 4:48 South Korea time, so a couple of hours ago now. We must stress, we can get quite nervous when we see some kind of seismic activity in North Korea, because it sometimes indicates they have conducted a nuclear test, but the Pentagon is saying that it does not appear that this was any kind of nuclear test. But we will have any updates on this as they develop in our later newscasts.
For anybody that still doubts the threat posed by North Korea, take a look at this map. First, where their Scud missiles can reach. Then their mid-range, medium-range missiles, how far, look at the prominent countries there, including the rest of Asia. And then the possible ICBM capability reaching the United States in a best-case scenario. For them, a worst-case scenario for us. Here to talk about that war with North Korea and what it would actually look like is military policy analyst and The Hill contributor Chris Naweem. Chris, thanks for being here this morning. Good to be with you, Pete. So you take a look at those maps over there, and it's a pretty damning picture of what North Korea could be capable of doing right now. Before we get into every single option, do you still think diplomatic means could resolve this?
I don't think so. I mean, I think that the diplomatic pressure needs to be consistent. I think that the president has some opportunity with China to try and put that pressure. And in the end, I don't know that we're going to get a mass concession from that. We need to keep trying it, but they keep moving in the wrong direction. So, and then you talk to any general, anyone at the Pentagon, they'll say, we don't want a ground war in North Korea because it would be the type of fighting we have not seen in decades. What would that look like? Well, I think that there's no doubt that we could annihilate North Korea militarily. There's no doubt about that. The real dilemma in what defense policy is referred to is asymmetric retaliation. Essentially, they would be able to get a punch off, and with short-range missiles that can be hidden in hidden areas on pre-fueled and track launchers, there's a chance that they could land one missile, and we just don't want to see any loss of life at all.
Seoul is one of the most densely populated cities in the entire world in South Korea, millions of people. But if we have a chart up on the wall as well that shows the amount of North Korean ground forces. Almost 1 million, 950,000. I don't know the exact number of U.S. troops on that peninsula, but it's only tens of thousands. Some have described our defenses there. If North Korea really wanted to press the offensive as a speed bump, only a delay mechanism for their forces, a ground war is even more dangerous than people think.
Absolutely, and the work that we've done, Pete, with veterans, I mean, we've obviously seen the real sides of war. This is global chess with consequences. We don't want to see that, so there's going to be several steps. But I think in the meantime, defense experts, we think we could probably shoot down some of these. We're working in that direction, but trying to get some pressure, and hopefully some of our regional allies, especially China, can try to push this guy back. He's more than just a guy with a really bad haircut. He's dangerous, and we need to do something about it.
And what you're saying is if we preemptively act, take out some of their nuclear facilities or other intercontinental ballistic systems, we better get it all right, because all they need is one to respond in a way that's meaningful to us.
Absolutely correct.